The Sherlock and Moriarty of Wentworth. That's a line that actress Kate Atkinson has used to describe the dynamic between her character, Vera Bennett, and the prison's most infamous governor, Joan the Freak Ferguson. It's a brilliant obsessive game of cat and mouse, hunter and hunted, two sides of the tarnished coin. But for a legion of fans, this wasn't the full story. They saw something else entirely. They saw Freakytits. So, how did a relationship defined by its creators as a toxic game of chess become one of television's most unlikely and accidental love stories? How did a dynamic some have called codependent mentorship and the intentional vibes from the actors themselves give birth to a ship that sailed against all canonical odds? To understand the journey from Moriarty to star-crossed lover, then we have to unpack how it all began. When Joan Ferguson first strode through the gates of Wentworth, black gloves and all, she saw in her timid deputy, Vera Bennett, a piece of clay. Vera was insecure, living in the shadow of a controlling mother and desperate for validation. Ferguson, a master manipulator, recognized this vulnerability as an opportunity, and she began to mold Vera not into a partner, but into a tool. And their early interactions are often described as a codependent mentorship. Joan offered Vera the praise and attention that she craved, building her up and sharing her secrets and creating this bubble of trust. And under Joan's tutelage, Vera began to learn what it meant to command and have respect, and to see the prison not as a place of rehabilitation, but as a system to be controlled. In a way, Joan was creating Vera in her own image, and as viewers, we saw Vera's admiration for Joan's strength. Even as we recoiled from her methods, it was a classic mentor protege dynamic, but twisted by Ferguson's sociopathic agenda. Every lesson was a manipulation, every compliment was a poisoned dart. Joan used Vera's deepest insecurities against her, from her relationship with her mother to her longing for a partner. She humiliated Vera. She stripped her of her position and betrayed her at every turn. And yet, for a time, Vera kept coming back. This wasn't love, not yet. It was a toxic bond built on professional ambition and a deep psychological need. Ferguson was the predator, and Vera her chosen prey. The game was intellectual, a battle of wills, and it was, in many ways, Sherlock versus Moriarty. And then something started to shift, and that shift didn't come from the script alone, it came from the actors. There are words on the page, and then there is the space in between the words. And it was in that space that Pamela Rabe and Katie Atkinson created something writers may have never fully intended. In interviews, both actresses have acknowledged the powerful subtext they brought to their scenes. Pamela Rabe confirmed that definite and undeniable vibes existed between Joan and Vera, born out of the chemistry she and Katie Atkinson found in their very first scenes together. She explained that we enjoyed each other as fellow performers and the dynamic was set up. This on-set chemistry, this mutual enjoyment of playing opposite to each other, began to influence the story itself. According to Rabe, the fact that they enjoyed each other's company probably fed into the writer's room. The tension became a deliberate choice. And Pamela admitted that in times, yes, it became very deliberate, and we're all very aware of it, and we enjoy playing with that. This meta-knowledge is crucial because fans were not just imagining things, They were picking up on a frequency that the actors were intentionally broadcasting. The longing looks, the moments of intense proximity, the lauded pauses, they were not accidents. They were choices. Kate Atkinson and Pamela Rabe were playing a duet that added layers of homoerotic tension and unspoken affection to what was written as purely antagonistic relationship. And Rabe has even stated that for Joan Ferguson, the relationship with Vera was probably the closest that she's ever been to someone in her life. When that bond is threatened or Vera acts against her, Joan feels a profound sense of betrayal, and the consequences are severe. This wasn't just a warden and her deputy anymore. This was personal. This was fertile ground, where the fandom's interpretation would eventually take root and blossom into a full-blown romance. Now, as Wentworth's seasons progressed, the clear lines of the Sherlock-Moriarty dynamic began to blur. The power balance shifted dramatically. Vera, no longer the timid mouse, became governor, and Joan, stripped of her power, became a prisoner, a fugitive, and a broken woman. In these moments of reversal, the nature of their interactions changed. The game was still on, but the stakes felt different. The manipulation never truly vanished, but it became intertwined with something that, through a certain lens, could be interpreted as care. When Vera finds a traumatized Joan after her burial and subsequent escape, she doesn't just see a monster, she sees a victim. When Joan later returns under the guise of amnesiac Kate Maxwell, her focus is singularly on Vera and her baby, Grace. The writers frame this as an obsession, a final twisted play for control. But the performances suggested something more. During the final season's explosion, Joan's apparent protective instincts towards Vera and Grace served as a powerful fuel for the ship. In these critical life or death situations, the game falls away, and what is left is a raw, undeniable bond. It's toxic, it's born of trauma, but it's also fiercely protective. The relationship evolved beyond a simple cat and mouse chase into a complex tapestry of obsession, protection, and a strange, almost maternal tension, with Joan positioning herself as the only one who could truly understand and safeguard Vera. It was in this murky, morally ambiguous territory that the fandom found its voice. Ships like this, they don't appear out of nowhere. They're forged in the fires of fan forums and Twitter threads and late-night fanfiction binges. And for Joan and Vera, the ship name that inspired countless edits was Freakytits. This pairing is a quintessential fandom phenomenon. It exists because the show gave just enough subtext to make it plausible, but never enough canon to make it fact. This ambiguity is the lifeblood of shipping culture. Reddit threads are filled with fans debating every shared glance and loaded line, creating a thriving world of romantic and sexual fanfiction that explores the what-if scenarios the show would never dare to. Fans imagine them as endgame couple, writing the romantic conclusion that the series itself denied them. Fan edits became a crucial part of the narrative. On platforms like YouTube and TikTok, moments of antagonism were recontextualized. A tense stare down became a look of longing. A threat became a declaration of devotion. These edits, by selectively framing their interactions, constructed a romantic narrative that was, for many, more compelling than the canonical one. The appeal lies in the archetype. The Sherlock-Moriarty dynamic is inherently romanticizable in fan culture. It's the enemies to lovers trope dialed up to its most extreme, toxic level. It shares DNA with pairings like Hannibal and Will, or Villanelle and Eve, relationships built on obsession, mutual understanding, and a dark, twisted form of respect. As Pamela Rabe has noted, audiences are drawn to people who behave badly, and there's a perverse allure to a character as complex as Joan Ferguson. The fandom took this fascination and applied it to her most significant and enduring relationship. They saw the toxicity, the abuse, the manipulation, and said, yes, and what if they were in love? They took a story about hate and decided it was also a story about love, a dark, possessive, and all consuming love. So, how did this become an accidental love story? Well, it wasn't one thing, but it was a perfect storm. It was the layering of a foundation of brilliant, obsessive cat and mouse games, and it was the actors themselves, Pamela and Kate, who deliberately infused the game with undeniable vibes and a chemistry that leapt off the screen. It was also the fandom, who took the subtext and built a universe around it, using fan fiction and video edits to transform ambiguity into full-fledged romance. The story of Freakytits is a testament to the power of collaborative storytelling, where creator intent, performer interpretation, and audience reciprocation collide and create something new. What's your opinion? I would like to hear from you. What was the moment that defined Joan and Vera as a dynamic for you, if at all? Was it a line of dialogue, a silent look, a moment of shocking violence? Like, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed unpacking this, please remember, hit like, hit subscribe, and the bell for more deep dives. Thank you. And until next time, take care. Bye.